Wednesday night, and that means it's time for the Lamar Thomas Show, featuring the greatest receiver in the history of college football. Just ask them, Lamar Thomas.
I was born in Ocala, Florida. I moved to Gainesville to go to high school. Been recruited probably since the 9th grade, illegally, I might add, by the University of Florida. I still can remember Coach Solinger, Don Solinger, coming out to our practice one day. Here it is, this guy comes out in the University of Miami jacket, and I said, I can't believe that's Miami out here. And, you know, I wanted to go up and say, hey, I'm Lamar Thomas. And actually, I did walk up to him and I said, hey, Coach, I'm Lamar Thomas. And he said, I know. And that was the start of my relationships with the University of Miami.
Patton, another good block, and Toretto lays it out. Touchdown, Miami.
You come down here, you'll be on TV every weekend, dominating. I thought about it. I said, man, where do I sign? My mom, on Saturday mornings, I would wake up and she'd be holding my hand. I thought she was the weirdest lady in the world. But she was holding my hands and she would be rubbing them and saying, one day these hands are gonna make you a lot of money. She was smart.
So now, here he is, the great one, along with co-host Gary Ferman of CaneSport.com, Lamar Thomas.
There he is, Lamar Thomas himself. Another week, LT, another week. And a lot of the same, just a little bit of a different result. So much to talk about this evening. But first, we welcome everybody to this week's installment of the Lamar Thomas Show, presented as always by Caneswear, your ultimate authority for all your University of Miami merchandise needs. Hopefully you still want it with the U on it. And if you do want it, Caneswear has it. How about that? You got a home game coming up next week. They're 15 minutes north of Hard Rock Stadium. You can go to the stadium. You can go to the store first on your way. Pick up some gear. Do some early holiday shopping. How about that? It's the last home game of the year. So some of you who don't live in South Broward might not be near Caneswear again anytime soon. So great weekend here to coming up and the week before the game and game day to get on over to Caneswear, load yourself up, do some holiday shopping, like I said, and spread the joy of the U. And LT, I'm saying spread the joy of the U because Miami is still 9-1. They still control their own destiny. As horrific, as deplorable as that game in Atlanta was last weekend, nothing's changed. Everything's the way it was before we got on the plane and went to Atlanta. Lamar, what say thou?
Well, thank you to Virginia. I think that's who beat Pittsburgh. So, I mean, that could have been a bad weekend for us. I mean, that was, as a whole, a bad weekend for the state of Florida, except for the Miami Dolphins. Man, that was, we'll talk about it more, but that was a bad loss. That was a bad loss. And it was a bad loss. It was a bad loss in front of, and I got to give it to our fans who came out. I would say we had at least 41% of those fans, packed stadium. It was their homecoming, but like I said, we had a lot of fans there in attendance that was cheering their behinds off for the University of Miami. And it didn't go our way. It didn't go our way, but the love that they were trying to show out there to try to pull this team through. And another 12 o'clock game They should be thanked for that because they tried. We just didn't have it that day, and Georgia Tech did.
And we're going to talk about so many different elements of it, and we'll make it clear right from the beginning. We're not pointing fingers. This was a total team loss. I'll call it a total program loss, and you'll hear why as we go forward. There's nobody that was immune from contributing to it, and you kind of could see it coming through all these weeks. Lamar, all these close calls, all these crazy runs that opponents are putting on the team. 28-3 runs, that we've seen this year, 25-point runs. Teams are just doing things to this team and this defense in particular that are they're not ordinary. Okay. So we were winning games because Cam Ward was playing Superman. On this day, Cam Ward wasn't Superman. Hard to be Superman every week, Lamar.
You think that Georgia Tech had some kryptonite out there or something, man?
You know what their kryptonite was? Kicking the living crap out of a team that's built for physicality.
Well, I can say
at least believed it was built for physicality.
I can say this, Gary. If you would have told me before the game that Georgia Tech was going to score only 28 points, I'm just saying we're going to blow them out. We're going to blow them out. We are going to blow them out with our high-powered offense. Didn't happen. It started that way. We looked good on that first drive, and maybe the second drive we could have gone up 14-7. They missed a golden opportunity. Royal was open in the middle of the field, and so it started that way, but it didn't end that way. And you got to give Georgia Tech credit. Unlike last year, but they had a great game plan, and they stuck to it. I mean, I think their starting quarterback threw the ball 5 times, maybe
6 times, 6 for 6.
King.
Yep.
Threw it, and I would say 3 of them were screen passes.
Yeah, 6 for 6, 32 yards.
And he ran the ball for a lot of yards.
And the other kid, the freshman kid, was 5 for 10 for 67 yards. They didn't try to do a whole hell of a lot on offense.
Nope.
They didn't need to.
They had us outflanked a lot. We didn't the edges. I mean, how many years have we had this same argument about quarterbacks being able to get outside on defense? Sometimes they even had us outnumbered. They had numbers on different sides. They did a lot of shifting and motioning. And, Duke might have exposed us a little bit. And now every other team is going to do some shifting and motions, especially if you want to go man-to-man. And so our guys are going to have to be sharp when it comes to all the shifting and motioning. And, we weren't, maybe 12 o'clock game. I don't know what it was, but we just weren't sharp we weren't sharp throughout that game.
You know what? I think it's a little bit of an aberration because I'm going to tell you why. They had 436 yards of offense in the game, which isn't bad, right? I mean, that's decent, right? Let me tell you something. They had 3 times drives that were progressing well. And Shannon Dawson called for a bubble screen that Georgia Tech clearly was well prepared for, and they blew it up all 3 times. It put the offense in bad down and distance situations on 3rd down, and they wouldn't convert them. Their 3rd down conversions in this game, I believe, was 3 of 10. Double check. 3 of 10 on 3rd down and 1 of 4 on 4th down. 4 of 14 on money downs. The offense didn't convert. That's where it fell apart.
And how many? I didn't hear the 4th down. How many? We were 0 for 3, maybe?
1 of 4.
1 for 4.
Yeah. And that's where it all fell apart. I mean, they were moving the ball. There were very few times that they weren't moving the ball. But if you take the times they went for it on 4th down and didn't get it, and probably made a mistake not putting points up on the board. We'll talk a little bit more about the decisions the head coaches have to make. It's not a perfect world, and Mario believes in being aggressive and was probably too over aggressive in this game because it didn't work. Okay, whether you're sitting there and I was, not playing Monday morning quarterback, I felt before the plays that they should have kicked the field goal, but it doesn't even matter because if they made the first down, we're not even discussing it. Okay, but when you don't make the first down, maybe you were being a little too aggressive. 7 points left on the field, 5-point loss. So the head coach is not immune from this team defeat, program defeat that we're talking about. The staff, assistant coaches, a lot of players out there looking unprepared, LT, and the staff has to take responsibility for that. I mean, the players ultimately do too. And, we're going to talk about that also. What are the distractions for today's player who now has money in his pocket? Are these guys that are confused out there putting enough time in Monday through Friday getting ready for these games? It does not look like it. Ultimately, that falls on the position coach. He has to know his guys aren't ready. And then, of course, the players themselves. I mean, you talk about setting something as simple as the edge. There's no edge being set. Well, geez, LT, the first thing a defensive end is taught is to set the edge. If you're playing defensive end in Pee-wee ball, you're setting the edge. If you're playing in high school ball, you're setting the edge. How are the defensive ends for a 9-0 Miami Hurricanes team that is playing for everything this year not setting edges play after play, week after week, game after game? Someone will have to explain that one. I don't have an answer. So the point I'm making is there's a lot for us to unwrap here tonight. Right. But there's no one thing. And even the offensive line, last play of the game, Lamar, they rushed 3 guys, and I know, Cam Ward held the ball for a very long time, but all they had to do was hold their blocks on 3 guys, and he's not getting strip sacked. So there's a lot.
What hurts even more is that Arroyo was sitting in the flat right in front of him for I would say at least 6 yards, at least. And that was really bad, the last play, because like you said, 3-man rush. But I think there was a stat I saw a long time ago about the 3-man line, 3-man rush. It gets home a lot more than you think, because linemen sometimes take it for granted. They try to double team a guy, and they hit a guy out of a block. The guy that's waiting, he hits a guy, he knocks him off the block, so the guy goes and makes the tackle. So there's something to a 3-man line getting a lot of sacks. I mean, I learned that a couple years ago, that sometimes a 3-man line is even better than the 4-man line.
Well, you dump the ball off to Arroyo there, and that's not a Superman play, LT. No. And as great as of a season as Cam Ward has had, as much as he has meant to this program, and we could talk more about this too, because I think it's at least 2 or 3 games he's meant to this program. Without him, I don't think that we are any different than any of these other teams in the ACC. And that is the hardest thing I think that Mario is having in his own mind to reconcile, because he has worked every part of his body off on recruiting the last 2.5 years that he's been here. Okay, there's not a day that goes by that, we're talking 5 a.m. till midnight. There's not a day that goes by that he's not recruiting. Okay, and obviously the team's having a good year this year. You can't say it's not making a difference, but it's really one guy that's really making the difference. And what we're finding out in these games that are life and death, it's now 4 of them in the ACC, is that all these teams are the same. It's they're the same. They have the same basic level of talent. They have the same basic level of coaches, and they can get each other from one week to the next. And we're seeing it in all these games and how they're played out. And I'm sure that is tough for Mario to accept right now, because of how hard he has worked for it not to be that way. And so there's so many elements to this. Let's bring in
I can tell you this. Hey, I see, how you doing, baby?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. How about you guys?
You're just a young whippersnapper, just like the rest of these old young whippersnappers. So maybe you can tell us what you think like some of these kids might be doing like during the week and the night before the game, because sometimes they just don't look like they're awake, and as sharp as they should be for a 12 o'clock game.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like there's plenty of distractions, when it comes to obviously, this day in NIL and, you're 18 years old, 19 years old, 20 years old, getting thrown six figures and all that good stuff. And, right now you're riding your high horse, you're 9-0, you're the best team in the ACC, your college football playoff rankings just dropped, this is a revenge game. And then you get punched in the mouth. One thing I want to say, just watching that game, I was like, which is a team that, is supposed to be the most dominant, up front on both sides of the ball, have a top 10 offensive line, a top 10 defensive line. You got, people saying, hey, this might be the best defensive line in the country. And then this Georgia Tech's just doing what they want, up front with these guys, whether it's on offense, whether it's on defense. So I just feel like this is kind of just a culmination of just a lot of things finally coming to fruition. Like we've said, all year long, Miami's playing with a little bit of fire. After the Duke game, and one of the takeaways I kind of wrote about it, I said, hey, these guys are flying real close to the sun right now, and they're just floating and floating. And then, all it takes is them to go a little bit higher, and then it comes crashing down. And, on Saturday, we saw it crashing down. So I just think it was just a lot of things. It was kind of the perfect, recipe for what we saw happen. Obviously, Miami's been in that similar situation where, hey, on the last drive, Cam Ward willed you down the field, and you win, and you leave all happy and stuff. And then finally, he's trying to make his magic, and then this is what happens. This is the opposite side of it. This is us losing the close game that we thought we should win. So, a crazy week. And I do want to add something. I feel like I kind of got a hint of something bad was going to happen on Wednesday when we kept losing LT in the stream. I said, man, we'll be perfect this year. Everything's been great. We never lost LT, and then we lost them during the stream. I said, something's up. And then, it happens on Saturday. But in all seriousness, it's something that, a lot of us thought could happen, and it finally happened. But hopefully the team can use this bye week and kind of get things back in order.
All right, Lamar, you've played, you've coached. How hard is it to go through a regular season undefeated?
It's extremely hard, primarily because when you're winning, things are kind of swept under the rug. We're not, as coaches, we don't put as much pressure on you for the mistakes. We might go over them, but we don't like harp on them. So, and some, again, things are swept under the rug, and, we're trying to continue that same mojo without offending or hurting their feelings or being too tough on them, because they're going to look and say, hey, man, we're undefeated. Why are you yelling at me? Or why are you doing this? Or, hey, have you not seen my stats? So it's very hard. It's very hard as a coach and even as a player, because at some point you start looking saying, unless you have that leadership, you got to continue to have leadership on the team to remind you that, hey, we still have to do the same things. We have to continue to get better each and every week. Everybody's going to give you all they got. And every week you're going to see something different, because the smart coordinators are going to go away from what they have done to try to give you, because you've been working on what you saw. And it takes a while for you to figure out what you're seeing now. So they're going to give you some different formations. They're going to give you some different personnel. They're going to give you everything different, especially if they don't have anything to lose, where they're trying to pull the upset. So it's very hard, and it gets to, you have these one or two games where this team is not better than you, but you've given them hope. You've given them, hey, we can play with these guys, man. They're not that good. And once that creeps into one guy's head, it creeps in another guy's head, it creeps in another guy's head. And then by that time, you have 53 guys believing, or 60 guys believing, hey, we can beat these guys, man. And at that point, the momentum, Big Mo, is on their side, and it's hard to come back from. Now, unless you have that leadership, you have some luck on your side, but it's hard, man. To go undefeated in today's era with all these different offenses, sometimes different defenses, it's hard. And to see the teams that are able to do it. I don't think, was Georgia undefeated last year? Who won the championship last year? I don't even know. Who won the championship? It was Georgia? Michigan.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right. Michigan.
yeah,
Michigan won it. Were they undefeated?
Ran the table.
They were undefeated. Yeah.
But I bet they had about 2 or 3 close games though. Really close.
But I'm looking at this year. You got Oregon undefeated, Indiana undefeated, as crazy as that is, an Army undefeated. Everybody else is taking at least a loss.
Well, for Indiana, it's going to be interesting to see how they were able to play against Ohio State, right? Yep. I think they might have Ohio State and Penn State, maybe. I'm not mistaken. But Ohio State bit the dust. Oregon should breeze through. BYU against Utah. They have
their remaining games are Ohio State and Purdue.
That's Indiana, right?
Yep.
Correct. Okay. Utah almost beat Brigham Young. Is Brigham Young undefeated?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think they are. Yeah. And I mean, that's what I mean. Like, you get a rivalry game, or you just get people who just say, or a team that says, hey man, we can play with these guys. And things happen. It is hard to go undefeated. And it's like, you can't really look at it until you get there. You can't look at it in the season and go, we undefeated, man, we good. Because you're going to get everything and then some from the opposite team.
BYU's got Kansas, Arizona State, and Houston left. They may make it through.
Mm-hmm. They've been tested. But who knows? Those teams, hell, Arizona, when we were undefeated, we end up losing to Alabama in the championship game, but I think we won the game against Arizona 8-7 or 9-7. We clearly were better than them. And at home, but they missed a 51-yard field goal, McLaughlin, and we won. But it's hard, man. It is truly hard. So, but the great thing about this, like we said earlier, Gary, we still control our destiny. Virginia beat Pittsburgh, which was weird because they lost their starting quarterback and their starting wide receiver, like back to back. So they were without, and the second string guy was not good. So Virginia was able to win that game, and it put us basically in the same spot. We just can't lose the game. We have to win out. You can't allow the voters to, you can't put it in their hands. You got to win out. You got to win it. Before I would have said, if you make it to the ACC championship and you don't win, there's still a chance that you could still make it in the playoffs. But I don't believe that now. I really don't. I don't. It's going to be tough, especially because of SEC bias. I know if they could, they're going to try to get 4 in there from the SEC. I don't know which 4, so they keep knocking each other off. But hell, they might even have a 3-loss team in there.
Well, Texas, I think, is almost a lock. Then you have after them, you would have Tennessee, potentially, Alabama, and Georgia, and Ole Miss. Yeah, of those 5, you probably will see 4 of them in the 12.
Trying to tell you.
Tennessee. Don't forget Tennessee.
And Tennessee. They can't forget Tennessee.
Yeah, I said Tennessee.
Okay.
Yeah, they could beat.
Yeah.
They play Georgia, right? If they beat Georgia, that kind of knocks Georgia out of it. But it's a lot of bias. So I'm just saying that we have to win. I think that should be the mindset of the University of Miami, that we have to win these games, all of them. We cannot take any chances in letting the voters or whoever is making these decisions an opportunity to. We'll end up like Florida State, left out the box. So we don't want that.
All right, so we all know Mario Cristobal is all about physicality. Okay, he would, if he could play football the way that Georgia Tech played football on Saturday, every single day, every single week, where it's just about kicking the living crap out of the person in front of you, I think Mario would say, I'm in. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How does this team that is built that way, or at least believes that it is built that way, show up on a Saturday afternoon with so much on the line and just get physically pummeled the way that the defense was getting pummeled the other day? 271 yards rushing against a team that didn't really have a quarterback that could throw. Certainly, Haynes King was injured, had a bad shoulder. He was out there purely to run the Wildcat, or variations of it. He wasn't even involved in the pregame warmups, Lamar. I went over there to see if he was playing, and he was nowhere to be found. I don't like they were, I think, like sending a signal to Miami like Haynes King's not playing today, because he didn't do a thing in pregame warmups. Didn't need to. And then they came out with what I thought was a brilliant game plan. And it was it was a physical annihilation. I mean, annihilation, I don't know if there's a stronger word. Is there a stronger word than annihilation?
Obliterated, flatlined.
Yeah, whatever word we want to use, it applies, man. They got their butts kicked. Lamar, how does that happen?
Well, it's not supposed to happen, especially when your head coach speaks on it early in the week and say, hey, they're just like us. They have a good line, both sides. It's a grind out game. This is what those guys in the trenches, this is what the game you live for. This is the game you want to be in. So they knew it was coming. What I think we got beat was on the edges. The big plays happened on the edges. I mean, obviously they were able to get a cutback play early in the game where it was supposed to go to the edge, but he cut it back and made the safety miss. And that running back, by the way, who I think he got hurt. Yeah. And so it forced them to basically use a receiver on speed sweeps, which became a big game for them because I don't think we stopped it not once. Speed sweep was a big game for them. Every time, anytime the quarterback got outside with a lineman pulling, I mean, it was just, we were in man-to-man. So when you're in man-to-man, those corners are locked on to their guy. They're not going to come off. So you run a guy in, the corner's chasing him, and then you're bringing two guys around. There's nobody there. I mean, it was, and we had no contain. So it was no edge set, and they got us on the outside. If it was just running straight up the middle, man to man, yeah, okay. But they didn't do that. They tried in the beginning. They had that one play at the middle where he made a guy miss. That guy went out the game. So they just said, hell, we're going to get the edges. We're going to play the numbers game. We're going to shift and motion you. And we're going to see if you're going to reduce and not have the edge set. And then we're going to run it right over there where you are. And that's what they did.
So I see you got this Miami Hurricanes team. Damian Martinez, Mark Fletcher, Xavier Restrepo, Jacoby George, Sam Brown, Elijah Arroyo, Riley Williams, Lofton. I mean, the weapons are endless, okay? And they got beat by a team without very many weapons. They don't have Cam Ward playing quarterback over there in Atlanta, Georgia. I mean, the running back that got hurt, Haynes, he's a pretty good player.
Yeah, great run.
But is he better than Fletcher and Martinez? Maybe comparable. He's a
different style back. He's more like our maybe 24 or 21 or 28. He's a different style back, but when he went down, I was like, oh yeah, this is over. They just lost the running back. Not wishing for anybody.
The quarterback can't throw.
Yeah, the quarterback can't throw. We got this. We just went down the field, scored. We good.
So
I'm mistaken.
I see. I assume you're a video game guy, so you probably get all crafty there on the offensive side of the ball. But there's clearly more than one way to skin a cat in a football game, and these coaches. There's a lot of good, clever coaches out there and they'll catch you, like they did on Saturday, and it becomes almost like playing PlayStation and creating something.
With Miami, I kind of go back to the thing where you said all those weapons. You can have all the weapons in the world, but if you don't have any ammunition, you can't use it. In this instance, ammunition was time, and Georgia Tech, might have not had the biggest guns, but they had a lot of ammo that ate up that clock. And I think in that second quarter, that 10-minute drive when they just kept going and going and going, I'm just like, I've never seen this entire year. I don't think there has been one team that has controlled a possession like that against Miami this entire year. I think that was the longest possession that defense was on the field. And when I saw that, I said, okay, this game looks different. This game just feels different. Because usually, these guys are getting off the field or giving up a big play. It's not these really, really long drives where these guys are just pounding the rock. And, Haynes King said it himself, their game plan was to keep the ball as long as possible and keep it out of the hands of Cam Ward. And I think they were one of the few teams Miami's going to face this year that has the kind of roster makeup to do that, where they can, compete and, outdo Miami on both sides of the offensive defensive line. So I think that was kind of the biggest thing, their ability to hold on to the ball and keep it out of Miami's hands. But, you look at that offense that they were running, it was jet sweep, QB powers, motion here, motion there, get these guys confused. There's probably 5 or 6 plays they ran. And at the end of the day, Miami's, linebackers, secondary guys are looking confused. I remember towards the end of the fourth quarter, there was a play where a wide receiver was standing out there by himself and Chase Smith has to go run out there. It's like they've been doing the same 6 or 7 plays this entire game. Like, all right, let's make some adjustments and switch some things up. But I guess nothing changed up when we saw the end result. But kudos to Georgia Tech for saying, hey, we're going to run this play until you stop it. And Miami didn't stop it the whole entire day. And we saw the result of that.
Lamar, you're an offensive coach. 17 plays, 75 yards, consuming 10 minutes and 40 seconds of game clock. What would Bobby Petrino have thought of that?
Well, he always used to say, the less plays I call, the better the drive. Because he always say, you take more chances on screwing it up. The more plays you have to call, chance of a fumble, chance of something dumb happening. But if you can do it and sustain a drive like that, it takes the will of the other team. And, and a lot of coordinators don't really have that patience to sit there and call plays because they don't want to screw it up, So, again, kudos to them. The game plan they had. I think a lot of it focused around, obviously, their quarterback. And like you said, maybe they were playing mental mind tricks with us in the beginning, not having him out there for warm-up. Maybe was, oh, my goodness, we definitely going to win this game. Who knows? I mean, it worked because we had no answers for him. We had no answer for him. We had no answer for the speed sweep. We had no answers for the little screen passes they threw. We missed a lot of tackles. We were misaligned a lot, and it was confusion out there. And what to me was sad is when I go to practice, I don't see any of that. Those guys are sharp, man. They're into it. They're locked in. I just don't know what happened in the game. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. I was scratching my head the whole weekend, like, wow, how? So I had to go back and watch that game. I had to go back and watch the Duke game. And I think from this point on, what we're going to see is a lot of shifting and motioning and seeing if they can get the edge or they can get the numbers correct. Because if you have 3 guys out there and only 1 defensive player, you're going to lose that battle, man, I'm still scratching my head. Like, I just can't believe what I saw. And it's not just the defense, it's the offense too, because again, you would have expected us 28 points. We're going to score way more than that. So we're good. You tell me 28 points. Oh, we're going to blow them out. Well, it didn't happen that way. And maybe primarily because they sat there on the sideline so long. So maybe there was a sense of urgency on calling the plays, not to we don't know when we're going to get the ball back. It's kind of like playing the old Georgia Tech, which I had the experience of coaching against them. Once they get up, 7 points is like 21 points. And so it didn't look like the same type of offense, and I'm reading some of the comments where people are saying they hate bubble screens. I can see why. They're that's all I'm gonna say on that. But you got to move the ball. You got to run the ball. I mean, we had some good runs. We had some really good runs when we ran the ball.
Passing plays.
Yeah,
They weren't having a problem moving the ball.
No, not at all. It's just when we got down to the third and the fourth downs, we just didn't execute. And so now they get the ball back and they're driving, they punt. We get the ball back. We look like we're behind the 8 ball. We're trying to get it down the field. And I think everybody has seen, we're not out there on the field, but the consensus is that Cam needs to drop down sometimes instead of looking deep and throw the ball underneath in the flat, the backs. And I even saw where one guy said, "Hey, how come we don't run any running back screens? The old school running back screens. We do run a lot of wide receiver screens and even tight end screens, but you don't really see any of the screens thrown to the running back." So I don't know. I mean, I'm still trying to process this. So if I'm not talking much, I'm still trying to process it because I just can't believe what I saw out there. Yeah. And I don't know whether to give Georgia Tech all that credit or say that, hey, we just didn't do our job, so I'm like stuck in between.
And people like you, myself, I see like we don't want to be reckless with our opinions either.
Correct.
You really got to take the time and process it a little bit. And I walked away after processing it by saying, you know what, here's the reality. We're not better than all these teams in the ACC. And I'll talk about the ACC standings in a few minutes, but we're just not. We think we are, we want to be, but we're not. It's obvious. Every game, there's just too much going on. They're too close. There's too big of swings against us taking place. And we're just not. We're not there yet. Hopefully we'll get there, but we're not. I mean, you can debate why. I know my opinion. I think that Mario has to take a hard look at the evaluation, and I'm talking about the complete evaluation of players. A guy might run 4.4, but if he's going home and he's playing video games on Wednesday and Thursday night, that guy's not helping you win. Okay. If he's not, if a guy runs 4.4 and he can't master the playbook, he's not helping you win. If a guy is 6'6", 325 pounds and maybe hasn't played a very competitive brand of football in his life, and you don't really know that he's great, maybe it's a mistake to throw the kitchen sink at that kid. And again, and these are all little things that we're seeing, in a lot of different places. And to me, more than anything else, that's what Mario Cristobal has to look at here as December approaches, the processes that they're going through in building the roster. Because this roster, as much as we want it to be and think it is, Lamar, these ACC teams are all at about the same level. It's amazing, but you could just look at the standings and the records. They're all the only difference between Miami is Miami had Cam Ward, who erased a couple losses.
Yeah, he has done that. Obviously, this last game, he had some bright spots. He did have some bright spots. That it was a beautiful throw to Restrepo. He had that play, the Arroyo touchdown in the beginning. That was a great throw. He threw that before he hadn't even looked, and he hit him right in his stride. But again, what comes along with Cam sometimes is those head scratching plays where it's head scratching, like, how did he do that? And head scratching, like, what the hell was that? You know, so, and that's, I mean, it's just the way it is. I mean, that's what you get. You're going to get those, what was that? You know, and as we've seen it all year. You had those 1 or 2 plays. And I think if you look on the holding penalty, you know, because he moves around or he spins around sometimes, it puts the offensive lineman in a bad situation. And they're trying to do their best. But when the guy's spinning and you don't know where the guy is, you're just trying to control your block. And, you know, they have to do more than they're capable of doing when he's moving around that pocket, because they're trying not to. Some guys are even trying not to go downfield. You know, on the touchdown play that was called back by Horton, where he caught the ball and took the hit in the end zone, they called it back for a holding penalty, which was a holding penalty. He had him hooked because the guy spun on him and he was trying to contain it. He was trying to figure out where the quarterback was. But we also had a lineman downfield. So it probably would have been called back there too, because it's a tough offense to defend, but it's even tougher because of Cam's movement for guys to really do what they're supposed to do. So it's been working for us. Lots of good, minimum bad. But I think what happened, it caught up with us, and those guys are going back to the drawing board, and they're gonna, you know, they're trying to make sure they do it right this time. They're trying to make sure from this point on that they understand that you got to take it serious. You can't have a lapse. You got to be focused on it. This week, one of the good things about an off week, you get to practice them hard. And you get to heal up, but you get to practice those guys hard. You get to get them in those books. You get to get them on the film. You know, you get to really harp in on some things you might be able to, that you might see. And you'll be able to tell the next game when they show back up on that field, because you bet your butt you're going to see movement. You're going to see all kind of movement. You're going to see teams trying to get them in the, 4 guys on one side and 3 guys on this side. I mean, they're going to try everything possible to see if Miami really went to the books to study all their deficiencies.
All right, I want to talk to you about the bubble screen, because I see all these bubble screens being thrown in football today, and every single time one of them's thrown, I'm thinking, damn, my skinny buddy Lamar Thomas would have been turned into a damn pretzel if Dennis Erickson called this many bubble screens when he was out there playing for the U. I saw 3 offensive drives blown up by bubble screens. They don't seem to work. To my eye, Lamar, they don't seem to work most of the time. I know that they're looked at as running plays, kind of, but your receivers are taking a pounding. Whether they're blocking or have the ball in their hands, it's a physical freaking pounding that smaller players are taking to try to get really a minimal gain in most cases. I mean, and it looks to me like defenses are so well prepared for the bubble screen. Every time we've run it this year, I don't know that we've popped one. I can't remember one that we've popped. I remember us running a lot of them, and I remember being impressed at how prepared the defenses are to defend that play. What are you seeing with the bubble screen?
All right. Well, let me tell you a story, first of all, about the bubble screen for me. I asked Gino that we run it, and he said we did a couple times. And it was to get Kevin Williams in space. And, the defense, they're taught to try to blow it up. They blow up the blockers to push them back to get them. I was 160. So if I was in there, that would be a hard thing for me. I would have to cut or something else like that, because those guys were bigger than me a lot of cases. But Gino said we did run it. I don't remember. Maybe I tried to block it out.
I don't remember too many of them. Some quick ones to K-Dub. I remember those. But
my story is going to Kentucky, and Eddie Grand saying, you need to. We run a lot of bubble screens. I didn't know how to block it. I didn't know how to teach it, like the blocking scheme for it. So that kind of put me behind the 8 ball as far as teaching it. So I had to have my assistant who had done it before kind of explaining them, because I'd never been in an offense where it was heavy bubble screen almost every play, because we did so much RPO stuff. You know, at Louisville, they only did a portion. They only did a little bit of it. They got more when Lamar got there, but Petrino had his own system. It didn't have a lot of bubble screens. We didn't run a lot of it. So it's not my favorite play. Okay, I just tell you that. I mean, me and Mike were on the sideline, and we're not really bubble screen guys, because, you know, we're older. We did our stuff down the field. But for some teams, it works. Obviously, that team was schooled up on it because they played them probably better than I've seen anybody play them in a while. I mean, they just blew up the blockers and they made the tackle. We, for some reason, when they ran the screens, they didn't really run the bubble screens. They just ran like tunnel screens, kind of, where they had the two guys blocking outside, and one guy steps back, and then he finds the hole, and we missed the tackle. It's if you don't know, and if you have good guys out there to block, it can work. But if you don't have those guys that are out there used to blocking, I mean, hell, we even seen our tight ends miss the block.
Yeah, they use them.
You know, I was going to say you put the big guys out there, but hell, they missed some blocks where the receivers got blown up. It's not my favorite play, but it's part of the air raid. I mean, that's part of their staple, is what they do when you don't have enough. When you have too many guys in the box, they'll throw it out there. You should have the numbers. But Georgia Tech played them very well. They did a great job defending them. They took them away. They put us in bad situations because of the losses. You know, we lost yards on them. So, and that's part of their offense. So it took it away.
All 3 drives.
Yeah, it did.
And that was a hidden big deal in this game. I mean, it was a big deal. And you know, I'm sure nobody's really thinking about it, because it just kind of gets lost in the wash. But those 3 plays that got blown up were big deals in that football game. Again, the physicality that Georgia Tech brought to that stadium on Saturday, you know, it just shone through. All right, so we haven't talked about the busts in the secondary tonight, because they didn't throw the ball that much. But when they needed, there were those 2 or 3 times, Lamar and I see, when they needed the big play, and they found it in the Miami secondary in the form of receivers left totally wide open, uncovered. Again, yet another week, and we've seen it pretty much almost every game over the last month, certainly since we started ACC play. Confused defensive backs throwing up their hands, not knowing what to do, making bad decisions. Receivers turned free, making big plays. They converted a 3rd and 18. Eaton didn't even have to work hard for it. They converted it easily. The receiver in the middle of the field was wide open. Mish Powell had turned them loose to believe it was Jaden Harris. Jaden Harris was nowhere to be found. Lamar, like, I don't know what they're supposed to do, you know, with this secondary. You know, Wake Forest can throw the ball a little bit. Syracuse can throw the ball a little bit. Certainly SMU, if they get there, can throw the ball a little bit. They need something to rise to the top in this secondary. I will be stunned if we don't see some lineup changes of some type when they show up for the Wake Forest game. I have to believe that Mario wants to send a message to some of these guys that are responsible for the busts. Where does this go in the secondary?
Well, watching that play, the 3rd and 18 play, I don't think some people on the field knew exactly it was 3rd and 18, because they didn't play like that. I saw a linebacker come forward, and maybe he could have been back there to a guy. He was trying to cover a running back who was behind the line of scrimmage. So that took him out, brought him up, and that a big boy that was in there. And actually, I think that also play we end up losing number 2, our Darryl Porter Jr. on that play. You know, That was a big play. I don't think they really understood it was 3rd and 18 because they didn't play like it was 3rd and 18. Like, why step up? You should be going back, right? How do you not know it's 3rd and 18? How do you not, and that's something on the sideline you have to relay to kids, because I'm telling you, these kids today, unless you harp on it, they ain't thinking about it. They're not looking at 3rd and 18. They're not, we were out there saying 3rd and 18, 3rd and 18, 3rd and 18. Come on, man. 3rd and 18, bro. Come on. I don't think they're doing that, because that route, he basically just ran up 15 yards and just came across the field. Easy 18 yards.
Easy.
Where was everybody else? That's what I'm saying. Like, I just don't think that the guys are really locking in, or that game, put it that way, that game, they weren't locked in as far as 3rd and 18, stay your behind back, force them to throw it quick or throw it underneath and rally up and make the tackle. But people came up and there was a void in there and they were able to hit us up. You look at even the touchdown pass that was thrown against Darryl Porter. He jumped outside. You would think the safety, the quarterback looked to the left first, and then he came. It was quick. He looked to the left. The safety moved over. It was three receivers over to the left side. We had three DBs over there, and the safety was in the middle. He didn't have to go over there. He should have been focusing more on the right side, where you had the single coverage. Porter Jr. jumps outside. Guy just gives him a move to the outside, ran straight, and threw the ball. Great, perfect throw, makes a perfect catch. Safety was nowhere near the play. Nowhere near. So somehow there was some type of disconnect, whether it was Darryl Porter. Well, I don't think, because he blatantly jumped outside, forcing him back to the middle, free safety. The safety, I don't know who it was. He should not have been concentrating on the 3 receiver side. He should be concentrating on the single receiver side, especially knowing that the guy was going to force him back inside to him. So somehow, some way, we're just not communicating. I think the communication skills in the secondary, I don't know what's going on. And again, I see them in practice. They're communicating. They communicate in practice. I watch. They communicate. And somehow, I don't know what happened. I just don't know what happened. The guy made a great catch, great throw, and a great catch. I mean, I thought that we were going to be able to go to the replay booth and they were going to say it hit the ground. But, I had my son was watching the game. He was like, yeah, Dad, that was a catch. The holding penalty they missed right in front of me, that was blatant holding. I don't know how they didn't call that. But a guy grabbed Horton by the shoulder.
Yeah, they were doing that a lot.
And actually yanked him at the end just for good measure. They didn't call it. But it is what it is. You just can't put yourself in that situation where you're going to leave it to the refs, because we've had a lot of games this year where it's definitely going our way. So, I'm still at a loss for words on this, man. How does one loss feel like the world's coming to the end? I literally wanted to cry.
Because of the other games. Because of the other games and knowing how fortunate we got and the reality hitting that this team might not be what we thought it was. I mean, quite honestly, when you get beat the way they got beat physically like that, on top of the mental errors, it makes you doubt what you thought you were watching. Tell us, man, what's up with these defensive backs? How do we keep seeing the same mistakes week after week after week? What are you seeing out there?
I think it comes down to, like Lamar said, maybe just lack of communication in some parts, and guys just not knowing what's going on the field. Like we said, with that 3rd and 18, you're defending that first down line with your life, and then for a guy to be that wide open in that situation, in that part of the game, it's just like, I know people are saying, oh, Guidry this, Guidry that, but no coach is telling their guys, hey, leave the middle of the field wide open, leave all that real estate for them to eat up. So I think it's, like I said, just lack of communication. And in that play, it was Zaquan Patterson guarding him. So that's a true freshman coming into the game. I don't think he's been in many situations like that. So maybe he didn't, really understand what was going on. The concept was called and things like that. But, the secondary, we've said it all year. At the beginning of the year, our biggest kind of debate topic was, hey, this secondary might be the weakness of this team. And, for the first few weeks, it kind of, got masked up with the makeup of the big wins. But, when you're losing, now that magnifying glass is right on those guys. And, we're seeing every little thing. A safety is not making a tackle. We're saying, man, what is he doing? Or if that happened, week 2 or week 3, oh, man, he'll get it next play. But, now the magnifying glass is on these guys. You lose another guy like Jadis Richard, who knows what he could have done in that game. He might have been taking it for granted. He might have been taking it for granted the weeks prior. So I think with the team losing, that magnifying glass is really on those guys. I feel like the pressure's on those guys too, because obviously, you try to cancel out that noise, but it's hard not to hear it, especially when, we talked about Coach Mario Cristobal going into the DB room and saying, hey, guys, get your act together. That's, added amount of pressure on some guys. How they may take it. Some guys may take it positively. Some guys may take it negatively. So I think it's just, a combination of injuries, new faces back there that aren't familiar, with what's going on, and just, a bunch of things that we all thought was going to be a problem finally coming to fruition, now towards the tail end of the season. So hopefully, fingers crossed, Damari Brown comes back. Obviously, I'm not saying one guy can fix this secondary, but a player like his talent, like Coach Cristobal said, 6 foot plus, 200 pounds, can run like a deer. I feel like having a guy like that back in their secondary can only, be beneficial for that group. So we'll see if he's back there in Wake Forest. Like you said, Gary, Wake Forest is another team that, likes to throw the ball around the yard. And Syracuse has, I think, 3 receivers over 600-700 yards. So secondary is going to get tested a lot these next 2 games, and we'll see how they, withstand the pressure.
So we can joke around that they're playing video games. They're, they got money in their pocket. They're taking girls out. They're, they're hitting the club. Whatever, whatever they're doing or not doing. Like, we can kid around about it, whatever. But Lamar, like, what's the accountability, teammate to teammate? And like, if one guy is putting in the time, and it does know what to do on Saturday, and the guy over here clearly is not, how does that wash in the locker room, in the film room? How are teammates accountable to each other?
Well, with today's age, I mean, you would hope that guys are, with the leadership council and all that other good stuff that Mario has going over there with leaders, you would hope that those guys get on the guys that are not doing what they're supposed to do. I mean, because it showed up in somehow, some way. And I just don't believe that the coaches, it's my opinion, are calling bad stuff. I don't believe that. So it's up for those players also to be smart enough to know their assignments and to make the plays. I mean, I just can't see it. I just don't. I don't want to believe that, because I know there's some good coaches over there. But at some point, you have to have some type of football IQ too. You as a player, you have to. We change plays many times, and Coach Harrison would get pissed. But we had a football IQ all throughout, because we were accountable to each other, and we made sure that we wanted everybody to be on the same page. And if a guy wasn't on the same page, it suffered. He suffered because he didn't get much playing time. And I would think that that's the type of culture that Mario has developed over there. So I'm pretty sure this off week there will be some soul searching, and there will be some guys that are going to get their feelings hurt, and they're going to have to step up. The only problem with that, especially in the secondary, there's not a lot of depth. So where are you going? We've always talked about players being able to hold coaches hostage. When you don't have depth and you're that guy, even if you ain't good, you got to play. I mean, case in point, look at Florida, Kamani McLean. He was awful out there. Had to play him. And I know guys. I mean, that's just it's just the way it is. But I'm not saying we have awful players. It's just that, when you lose a guy like Brown who has some type of leadership skills, you got to play all these young guys. I mean, we would love to put was it Patterson, Zaquan, was number 20?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, you would love to play him, but he's young. He's a great tackler. I don't believe he's a good cover man yet. That's just my opinion.
Why not? They gave him 9 reps the other day, which is a clear statement that what you're saying is true, without question. I mean, when you look at the physicality that he's capable of playing with, the baller mentality he brought from high school. I mean, the fans are all screaming for Zaquan Patterson because in their mind, Zaquan Patterson is the Zaquan Patterson they know from high school. They don't understand this college game is a whole different deal, and he may not quite know what he's doing yet. And when the coaches only put him out there for 9 plays, they're kind of answering the question, right? So
you remember we had a guy named what was that linebacker we had back when Randy was, and everybody wanted Randy to play him, and Randy was like, he's just not ready. Willie Williams or something like that?
Willie Williams was one.
He was a badass. I mean, he was in high school. He was but Randy couldn't put him out there because he didn't know what he was doing. He was a liability. And sometimes these kids have to mature. They have to somehow figure it out. I just don't think they trust him enough right now because of what they've seen. And the fans, you want us to put him out there. You want them to put him out there, but he's just not ready. And and when the kid's not ready, you're talking about some blown stuff, some blown coverages, some missed tackles. And I mean, sometimes the high school stuff doesn't translate until the game slows down for these kids. When it's going fast, that's why back in the day, guys were redshirted.
Yeah, nobody thinks that nobody likes red shirts anymore. Although they are redshirting a decent number of freshmen this year. All right, we're going to be joined here in a second by a guy that could write a book on all these subjects that we're talking about. That's former Cane Dwayne Starks. But first, let's hear from our friends at CaneSport.
Welcome to CaneSport. New store, new items, same great experience. Family owned and operated since 2010, CaneSport has the latest merchandise from the Miami Hurricanes, Miami Dolphins, Florida Panthers, Inter Miami CF, and more. Come visit us at our store in Davie on University Drive, just south of 595, or online at caneswear.com. CaneSport, the spot Miami fans shop.
We're talking T-shirts, hats, jerseys, polos, hoodies, flags, magnets. The Michael Irvin shirt. How about that?
And this one is not sweaty. It's clean. This is not a sweaty Michael Irvin shirt. There you go. Wow. We got him up in here. There you go.
They even have that at Canes. We're now 2655 South University Drive in Davie, your unquestioned headquarters for all your Miami Hurricanes merchandise needs. If you haven't been to CaneSport yet this season, make sure you get there. Not too early to start your holiday shopping, too. And let's hope the Canes get their act back together here and have some big games coming up in the month of December and maybe even January. Never know. And you're going to want to be wearing the latest and greatest Hurricane stuff. So check out CaneSport at 2655 South University Drive in Davie, 15 minutes north of Hard Rock Stadium. And if you can't get to the store itself, go to caneswear.com and you can shop them online 24/7, 365. You see all the stuff behind me here in the show tonight. You see it all behind Lamar. It's a massive store, tons of great stuff. So go check them out, CaneSport, 2655 South University Drive in Davie, or caneswear.com. All right, now we're going to be bring some greatness onto the screen here. A guy that never showed up on a Saturday unprepared for the game. A guy that he can answer. I don't remember ever seeing Dwayne Starks bust a coverage.
Not that I remember. No,
Dwayne, welcome to the Lamar Thomas Show, man. Did you ever bust the coverage? I don't remember ever seeing it.
Nah, I don't think I ever did that. I mean, Chuck Pagano may beg to differ, but nah, it wasn't me.
Hey, D, I want to say to you, congratulations on, doing the coin flip at the. That's a big honor, man.
Oh yeah, man.
How'd you find out that was even going to happen? I mean, when did they call you and tell you that?
I called down to the school for a totally different reason, and the person that I reached was like, "Hey, I was trying to reach you." I was like, "Well, my number is the same." He's like, "Listen, we're doing this honorary captain thing, and we would love for you to be an honorary captain. You've done so much for the University of Miami when you were here, even during the tough times when we were here for probation, and we want to honor that, man. We want to honor your success. We want to honor the things that you've done for the university." And I was like, amazing, perfect timing, because I have younger kids that wasn't born when I was playing in the NFL, or to witness me go through that. And all the accolades and positive things that I've done, but to go out there and them to see me as an idol is like, it makes you feel good, man. You bring them out on the field, you see how big those guys are when we're actually on the field. When you stand next to them, you realize how big they are, right? They look like little pencils on the television, but you stand next to them, you're like, wow. And just for my son, who's actually playing football, he wanted to see, daddy out there. My daughter wanted to see daddy out there. And of course, my wife the same. But that's an amazing moment. I'm very thankful to those who made that happen. And, that's good, bro.
Hey, man, slide me that number so I can call down there for something else so I can maybe do it too.
That's right. Hey, good things. God put things in place, man. Everything happened for a reason. I don't even think I got answered what I was calling down there for, because that news just changed the whole everything.
the whole phone call.
Right,
well,
right.
It is. I was happy when they said that you were honorary captain. I said, I get to see my guy. I see you on the golf course every now and then. But
yeah.
The viewers, obviously, they want to know about D Starks to the house in the Super Bowl, man. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit about, what was that? Okay, first of all, that team with Hurricanes on it. Yeah, there you go. What was that like to have all those guys on your team and the team in general?
It was amazing, man, because all of those guys were in football years older than I was, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I was older than Ray Lewis by a year. I'm a year older than Ray, but he's ahead. He went to the NFL earlier than I did.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all leaders. I mean, you're talking about Leon Searcy, you're talking about Kip Vickers, Robert Bailey, myself. Who else? It was another one. Gosh, another one. I hate the fact that
linebacker from Chaminade, right? Was it?
No. I don't. I mean, it doesn't. But it was 5 of us total, right? And they were all leaders and also guys that other guys looked up to. And it felt like through conversation for outside media, it was like, yo, the reason that these guys are going to the Super Bowl is because they got 5 University of Miami guys on their team, right? So that felt good, man. That felt really good, just to know the impact the University of Miami players have in the NFL. And we can go on and name tons and tons that are.
Was it McGahee?
No, he wasn't there yet. No,
I'm just trying.
No, it wasn't there yet.
It seemed like it was like 10 guys, and you said it's only 5. But it seemed like it was like the whole, like, when we watch the game, of course I'm cheering because, Miami guys on the team, and Ray and of course, the safety and
Leon,
the great safety.
corner.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's just greatness out there. So obviously, as a guy, we watching, we pulling for you, and you guys go on and you get to the Super Bowl, and you have that great play.
Yeah,
I mean, what was
yeah.
that? I mean, when
That play, man, it's like this. When you prepare, when it happens, you're not surprised, right? And one thing that I've learned at the University of Miami is how to study film. Chuck Pagano was a great defensive back coach. And the first thing first, we're watching film. I'm watching film on the opponent. I'm watching film on the formations. I'm watching film on the quarterback, because those are my three key reads. It starts with the formation. Then it starts with the opponent. So I look at those things, and those are the things that I have to prepare for, right? Besides the defense that I'm in, the coverage, understanding where my help is, understanding what plays I can gamble on, what defenses I can take a chance on. If I got help over top, I'm jumping everything. I don't care if you double, I'm jumping everything. But because I watch quarterbacks' motions, I watch the routes that they run, third down situations, formations, tendencies. Those things play a part, and you have to remember that. You have to remember, when you're studying those things, you got to know why you're studying. There's going to be a third down and long at some point, and you say, they go 3-by-1. 3-by-1, third and long, this backside running the deep ball, or this backside running the post, or whatever it is, whatever that tendency is. So in that game, I noticed, and I didn't catch it until a day before the game. I'm in the film room by myself, just studying. Now I'm watching the quarterback. Every slant that they throw, I'm watching the slants. And I'm like, whoa, Kerry Collins, I say, he has a hitch. Every time he hops up on the 3-step drop, he lets it go. It's like automatic. I went back from game to game to game to game, and it was the same thing.
Wow.
So quickly, I go running. Hey, Rod Woodson. I go get Rod Woodson. I go get Chris McAllister. It's like, yo, check this out. You know what I'm saying? So when you find things like that, man, it's when it happens, it happens. I think I almost let it happen. I think I almost missed the opportunity, because I see the lineup, I see the third down situation. I say, okay, I'm telling the safety, hey, watch my back. And I almost turned around too late, because they were snapping the ball. And I say, what I have to do is read this quarterback. If he hops, just go. If he doesn't hop, it's a double move. Man, he hopped. He was in the middle of his hop, already took off. I ran a route for the receiver, and I caught the receiver was looking around like, what just happened? So,
D, one of the issues that, this year, and this is why I wanted you on the show to talk about preparation and stuff like that. Their teams they're nowhere man-to-man. So what they're doing, they're shifting, and they're running guys across the formation, then motioning away from the formation. And it looks like our guys are confused sometimes. They're looking back at each other. The communication, how important is communication, especially in man-to-man?
Communication is everything. And you go through practice, right? Sometimes things happen. If it's the first time you saw it, it's like, oh, okay. They got us that time, but it shouldn't happen over and over again, right? Because when you go to that sideline, you're talking to your coach. Hey, coach, they did this. Da, da, da. So now you adjust. The faster you make the adjustment, the better you are for the next time around. If the guy just beats you, he's just a better athlete than you or something. But if you're prepared, even if you're not as talented as he is, you should be in a position to try to make a play.
Dwayne, I wanted to ask you, because we've seen in the Miami secondary this year, you guys got like OJ Frederick, a true freshman, starting at cornerback, Zaquan Patterson contributing. Just what would be your advice to some of the younger guys that may have those cold feet, seeing the field for the first time, to just things of that nature to kind of get them accustomed to, life as a DB?
Well, first off, they have to be confident in themselves, right? Being confident in yourself, like if whatever is working for you, use it. Like sometimes you go out, and that's why I'm very careful about what I teach a young guy when I'm coaching them up. And prime example, I don't know if you remember a guy, Nnamdi Asomugha, not Hall of Fame, but basically Pro Bowl corner with the Oakland Raiders. Within his second year, he was kind of struggling a little bit, and because he was trying to listen to a guy half his size, and Tyrone Poole, he's a smaller, quick guy, fast, use different technique. And Nnamdi came to me and said, "Hey Starks, man, I'm trying to do this thing that Tyrone is trying to teach me." I say, "Why are you listening to Tyrone? Tyrone is not 6'1", 6'2", with the wingspan of an ostrich, right?" I'm like, you. I say, "What got you here?" He say, "Man, my feet and my speed." I say, "And your width, right?" He say, "Yeah." I say, "Nnamdi, work on keeping the guy in front of you. He's not going to outrun you. He's not going to run past you. Work on staying in position." Hey, next couple of years, that year, finishing out really well. The next year, Pro Bowl, and so forth. So sometimes it's just pointers like that, Mr. Charles, that a kid needs to hear. What's working for them, use it to their advantage. Like for me, I'm not going to go, I know I'm 5'10", 175, barely when I was playing in the NFL. I'm not going to go up against a 6'3", a guy like Terrell Owens and try to jam him every time. No, I'm going to stay off of him. I'm going to use my speed, and I'm going to be that little mosquito that won't go away and I can't smash it. All right. And I'm going to bite you. I'm going to sting you every now and then. So when you have that type of mentality and that type of wits in your game and who you are and being confident in yourself, then you won't overthink running down on a deep ball and do I play the player or do I play the ball in the air? No, you're running. You got to remember the ball is in the air for a reason. The ball is in the air for a reason. That doesn't mean he has to catch it. It's up there for you too, right? And that's one of the things. I don't know how many interceptions we got this year, but I know we've given up a lot of passes and a lot of third down conversions.
Yes. Hey, Dwayne, you talked about communication and the importance of it. I'm assuming that takes preparation, correct? I mean, that is in the meeting room, that's on the practice field. And it hasn't always looked like our guys are putting the time in away from practice also. And you talked about being in the film room and getting ready for games. How much time would you spend in a given week? And you could answer this for the college level and the pro level, away from practice, preparing for a football game, so that when you went out there on Saturday or Sunday, you knew what was going on and you were not going to be hurting your team with mental mistakes.
I think every day I'm putting in about an extra hour or two, or however long it takes to get through at least 3 games of film, right? And that's just not watching the film and letting it play. It's more so rewind. Let me see this. Rewind. So that may take 3 hours. Before I go to bed, I'm watching it. Now I can rest my mind at night, lay down with nothing else to do, and all I'm seeing is the film all over and over again. So you have to understand that. I think the problem with I ain't gonna say what they're doing, because I don't know what they're doing, and I don't want to assume, but I will assume that, and I know this to be true, a lot of guys do not know how to study film. They can sit there and watch it all day, but they don't know what mental notes to take. and why they're watching what they're watching. Like I say, every team has tendencies, and you have to know your deficiencies as well. It's like, okay, I watch myself. Oh man, I can't keep taking this bad step. Let me get rid of that. I can't keep jumping this route. They're gonna catch me on the double move every now and then. So you have to play games with it as well to know to give yourself an advantage. You know, we played against top receivers. We played against the greatest show on earth with Isaac Bruce, Torrey Hall, all those guys. And I had a game plan for each one of them, and none of them was the same. None of them was the same.
Hey, D, let me ask you this. Being 5'10", 175.
Soaking wet.
Kind of like me. Did you feel like you had to, because I know my answer to that, you had to put in the extra time because you felt kind of slighted as far as I know I have great speed, but I got to make sure my technique is right. I got to get that extra advantage. Did you feel like that, or did you also do it because of who was around you?
I was about to say that. So there's many different reasons that I worked my tail off. I had a lot to prove. I had a mission, I had a goal, and I had somewhere that I wanted to be. I look at that through high school, through college. High school, you just want to get to college. College, you want to get to the NFL. When you're in an NFL, that's not the end goal, right? You want to get to the Super Bowl. And like you say, people around you that hold you accountable, that whatever happens, it ain't going to be my fault. You know what I mean? That's the mentality. Yo, whatever happened, it ain't going to be my fault. So for one, I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to be ready. Now, if I get beat and it's just a great play, then I just got beat. The best of them get beat. I've seen Deion Sanders get toasted, even though he ran a 4.1, 4.2, 40. Right? I've seen Jerry Rice make play. You know what I mean? So my whole thing is I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to lead by example. And I want to be the best that I can be. If I don't do these three things, if I don't prepare my body, if I don't prepare mentally, and if I don't give it all that I have every day in practice, the game's going to be tougher. I'm going to let somebody down. I don't want that to be me.
So you're talking 10 to 15 hours a week of extra time, basically, to prepare.
A week? Yeah. Because for one, when you're at practice, of course, you're going to watch film with the coaches and with the team. So you take mental notes then. You get your notebook pad out, you write this, you write that. Say, okay, dang, I see something. Write that note down, and then you take it home and say, okay, I'm going to study what the mental notes that I just wrote down. You start looking and you find things. Then you can go back to the coach and say, hey, coach, hey, look, man, I've been saying this. Maybe the coach didn't see it. Maybe the coach didn't make emphasis on it, but you saw it and he was like, damn, you're right, man. Look, all right. Now you can come up with a real game plan, right? It's like, okay, if we see this, we're checking here because now this guy can get in this gap or whatever it is, or as a defensive back, hey, if you see this, I want you to play off and I want the safety to drop under it. But, little things like that can make a difference. And that's where the communication comes in as well. It's like, hey, here goes that motion we talked about. They normally don't send number 11 in motion, but now number 11 is going in motion. You know what's coming. Double move or, out and up. You know what I'm saying? Little things like that you catch on to when you put in that extra time.
We talked earlier on the show about how hard it is to be undefeated. It is a grind. And can you elaborate on that a little bit? I mean, I spoke on mine. It's so hard. Even the worst teams, if you let them sneak up in there, they get that confidence, and now you got a dogfight.
All right, yeah, you're right about that. I mean, for one, we've been a prime example for that. We've given these teams a great opportunity to compete, and thankfully we pulled it out. Some close games which should not have been close, but there's growing pains with that. It's just hoping they learn it as growing experiences. But when you have a team that you're supposed to dominate, you're supposed to dominate them. And you're talking about going undefeated. That's pretty hard because mentally, if you're winning, you still have to keep that winning mentality and that dominating mentality. It's where you're not going to give another team a chance. I mean, thank God that this game, what I heard, I'm not noticed the facts of it, but it didn't matter as much. I know it dropped us out of the top 10. Where are we now?
12.
Lamar?
Well,
12?
number nine in the one that matters, which is the college
Number
football.
9. So we went from 5 to 9.
Yeah. The bottom line is if they win out and they get to the ACC championship game and win that, they will be in the playoff. If they lose another game, they might not.
Right. So now we got Wake Forest and who else?
Syracuse. And then we win those. We got to play. Looks like right now Pittsburgh, not Pittsburgh. Who was it? SMU.
Yeah.
Baby Miami.
Yeah. Oh man. So what we have to do is stay focused. If the end goal is to make it to that playoff, that Power 5, whatever you call it. We have to stay focused and we have to treat these teams as though they're the championship team. No matter what our record is, 8-1, we have to pretend that we have something to prove and go out and get it done. If you allow teams to hang around, like you say, Lamar, it can be detrimental because if it comes down to a few plays, it's a matter of who's best in those last 8 plays, that last drive.
Win some, lose some.
Yeah. So we can't allow that. Can't allow that at all.
Okay, good question right here. This was also brought up early in the show. Dwayne Starks is the DB coach.
Mm-hmm.
What are you teaching to defend the bubble screen? How do you defend that?
Oh man, corners definitely have to get much stronger, but we have to be disciplined because you never know what comes off the bubble screen, right? They can throw the bubble, then they can throw the bubble go. So you have to be prepared. Discipline. You win in the one-on-one battles because you know that corner has to come up and get rid of that receiver, right? Mm-hmm. You know that safety is going to come down or either come over top to protect the bubble go. And that's why I say the corners have to be stronger and dominate getting rid of that blocker.
So do you blow up the blocker or do you just occupy him?
It depends on how fast your help's getting there, man. I mean, if you blow up the blocker and you're still out of position of making a play because the other guy is running the ball, right? It's not just going to run into you. If everyone's coming in the gaps and the angles that they're supposed to, then you might want to buy a little time at some point. Or if you get an opportunity to blow it, you have to. So that's not I don't think there's a definitive answer to that. Mm-hmm. It all depends on how far away the back is and how, what that situation is with the corner.
Easy or hard to defend the bubble screen?
It depends on their blockers. If their receivers are really good blockers and they coming off the ball and they're doing their job, then it's hard to defend. Can you prepare for it? Study film. Watch the tendencies. When are they throwing it? What down situation that they feel like, is this a play that they want to pick up 5 yards? They want to pick up 10 yards? Or if it's 3rd and long, is the bubble screen really going to hurt you? Can I play it? It's different scenarios. And sometimes, and this, Lamar, I see a lot of comments in our group chat. And I look at it, I'm like, did you play football? Do you really don't understand that can happen? Right? And the coaches have to be prepared. They got, it's not just players, because I've seen a lot of times, and it happened to me a lot, and not to me, but like to different teams that I was on. It's just that sometimes they study you too. So, if on first down you want to apply zone blitz all the time, then they're going to come up with a play that's going to beat zone blitz. So you can get beat even when you have sound technique. That it happens. It happens. So, you're not going to be perfect. Every play is not going to be shut down, or every pass is not going to be incomplete or a pass breakup. So you just got to be prepared as a coach to put your players in the best position that would help them in the long run and throughout the game.
Question: did you enjoy playing boundary corner more, or did you enjoy playing field corner more?
It didn't matter to me. I just wanted to play. And the thing is, I can play both. I was physical enough, even as a small guy. Like they called me 210 when I was playing, right? It was like, yo, I don't care what you weigh. This kid plays like he's 210 pounds. Like he plays like a safety, right? When it comes to hitting, when it comes to being physical on the receiver, getting the receiver off of me, filling the gap on a pulling guard, sealing the end. I did all of that, and he's like, dang, this kid here, like, man, he plays big, right? Here's a story. When it came to the NFL draft, I talk about this sometimes. Ozzie Newsome, Eric DeCosta, who was one of the scouts, came down and watched me, and he was like, yo, this is my guy. So he goes back to Ozzie Newsome and tells Ozzie, yo, this is our guy. So Ozzie said, well, how big is he? It's like, well, he's 110, about 170, 175. And Ozzie said, there's no way, there's no way I'm drafting a corner that size at the 10th pick, right?
He wanted to be like McAllister, huh?
But I was there before McAllister. I was there before McAllister.
He wanted you to be about that size. He wanted you to be like that size.
Yeah, he wanted to be. So Eric said, no, Ozzie, you got to watch this guy. So Ozzie said he went back, and he told me this story. He said, I went back and I watched the film, and I was sold. I was like, just watching the film, I realized that you are so much bigger than your actual stature, right? And he was, the strength that I had, the speed that I had, he was like, yeah, no Diddy, but he said, yeah, I'm gonna marry that kid. We're married now. That's my 10th pick right there.
Gary, the brothers, we all have to say no Diddy now. You can't have no suspect words.
I know, right?
No Diddy.
See, you learning something from the brothers now. Now you outnumbered, so
No Diddy.
Here it is. All you white guys out there, understand when we say no Diddy, no suspect stuff. Just like today, I told my homeboy, hey man, you need to. I raised that text and said, you need no Diddy, you need to back up.
Yeah.
So I had to preference that. So
yeah, man. No. So, Ozzie said that, man, and he was like, yeah, that's my guy. And the thing is, I worked out twice for the Ravens before they drafted. They came down with Marvin Lewis, who was the defensive coordinator at the time. And I tell you, man, he put me through some stuff that I'd never done before. He had me turning my body, coming out of breaks a certain way. And I got through it through ease. It's like, whatever you ask me to do, I can do it. I don't care. And then the following week, about 2-3 days later, they sent another guy down. I think it was Eric DeCosta at the time. And I was like, that was my own special workout. It's just me out there on Green Tree. And bro, it was all over from there, man.
All right, so we took the first L, obviously, on Saturday after winning 9 straight. Now they got 2 games left in the regular season.
Yeah.
What made my experience is the teams come back angry from a loss like that. That people asking me what I think. I said I think they're going to beat the living crap out of Wake Forest. I mean, teams usually becomes a rallying point. Talk about that aspect of it.
We would all hope and wish that that's true. And I'm share the same sentiments with you, because I do believe that we would come back strong and with a team like Wake Forest and just run through them, because they know that we have no room for error. We have no opportunity to lose another game that's going to keep us where we are now. I think Mario has done that in the past as well, lost close games and then come back the next week and everyone's on point. But each week is a new week, right?
Yeah.
We have to go out, prepare as though this is the only thing that matters, and get through 1 week at a time, one play at a time, and try to come out with the victory. I don't care how convincing, or we just need to win.
Very well said there, Mr. Starks. We definitely appreciate you for coming on, and
Man, thank you.
thank you for that wonderful dinner the night of the Florida State,
Yes.
the night before with the Trust. We appreciate it. He's our Trust guy down here in South Florida. He explain what the Trust is so people can.
So what the trust is a benefit that was negotiated with the NFL former players, well, basically the NFL union and the league owners. And what we did was, I'm here to basically engage all of the former players that played 2 or more years in the NFL, and let them know about their benefits, what they've earned over those years, and what that entails. So, brain and body exams, continuing education, so forth and so forth, different benefits that we have. And I do that by creating engagement opportunities, going to dinner, taking guys out, explaining what those benefits are. A lot of guys, just if it's just community involvement, some guys get away from the game and that locker room feel is gone. So part of my job is to try to bring that locker room feeling back, because the mental health is real, right? And we have a lot of guys that are really down on themselves, because either they didn't finish their career the way that they wanted to, or after they left the game in the NFL, they feel like no one really cares about them, which is not true. We still have a brotherhood in the NFL. We all been through some of the same battles. Some got Super Bowl rings, some don't. Some guys were cut when they didn't want to get cut. And like I say, they didn't finish their career like they wanted to. And that bothers a lot of guys. And just being there when a guy needs a transitional period, rather that's transition, helping him get a job, rather that's keeping his weight down. There's different benefits that we have that would help all the former players. So that's my role, just to engage them and get them connected with a program manager. So if they need anything, they can always reach out to them. And, we do our best to try to get them situated.
Well, you've done an outstanding job down here. A lot of guys, we always say, call D Starks, call D Starks. You got a question, call D Starks. I know your phone is always ringing.
Always.
We definitely appreciate you, man. And, you've always been a stand-up guy. And, hey, maybe sometime you need to go down there and talk to, DBs a little bit and just let them hear this story. Let them hear about being, being accountable and studying and stuff like that. Because I think a lot of these kids today, if you don't tell them, if they don't see you on TV or have heard of you, they don't listen. So
yeah,
how about this week? Let's get him let's get him an appointment down there this week.
Hey, I would love to, man. I would love to. So
well, thank you, my brother, and thank you for your time tonight.
Hey, thank you guys, man. I appreciate it. All right, Gary.
Again,
all right, Lamar. Y'all be safe, man. Thank you.
The great Dwayne Starks. What a good dude, man. He's always been. Even when he was a kid, just a great dude. Came out of Miami Beach High School. I mean, players didn't come out of Miami Beach High School, but not many.
Yeah, you might have looked at them on that list as like one of them sucker teams, but when they have that one guy that's special,
Yeah.
You know, it happens like that. He was very special in high school, and especially when he got to college, he turned it up. And you know, like you said, he was an undersized type guy, but he had a lot of heart. And now you hear the story, he also had a lot of knowledge.
Yes.
And that's what, you know, the kids today, I don't know, their football IQs are as high.
There is
and
no way that those kids are spending an extra 10 hours a week watching film, knowing how to
No.
watch film, making sure that they're ready for game day. There is no chance of that happening. I see you listen to all that. That kind of makes you want to go back and play again, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I watched them. I know back in high school they used to log our huddle hours, and I used to just let it play and play Xbox and that. So, but no, hearing that type of stuff just makes you good. And maybe if I stayed a couple more hours on huddle, would I be in the NFL right now or something like that? You know, I got the frame. I'm 6'2", 170. I can move a little bit. Hey,
yeah, Ryan McNeil, he's Ryan McNeil size.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes to show you he had a why, and he knew what he wanted to be. You know, and that's a lot of kids nowadays don't have that why. One of the questions I do is in coaching, the first part of the year, I ask them, why are you playing this game? I want you to write me a paragraph, tell me why you're playing this game and who you're playing it for. And I find out a lot about kids, young men, like if they take it serious or not. You know, some people playing because their mama want them to play. They don't like the game, but they just doing it because their mama want them to play. Well, that's the guy I know that I'm not putting in the game when the game's on the line. Okay,
correct. And don't you kind of need to know that in recruiting? That's what I think falls through the cracks today. They're recruiting so many kids between the portal, regular high school.
Well, you got to understand this, Gary. It's a marriage now, because think about it. As coaches, we're going to tell you what you want to hear. And then players, they're going to tell you what you want to hear. This is when they get on campus, when they let that guard down a little bit and they see cool Coach LT, and I hit them with the, hey, man, let me know. I want to know what's your why in this whole deal? Why are you playing this game? Why are you here? And you find out a lot about why they're playing the game and who they're playing it for and what's important to them. And you take that, and on a good day, they playing for little Ray at the car wash who got killed. I go up to him and say, hey, dog, Ray looking down on you, boy. You doing them good. You doing them a solid. They playing for grandma. Bad day. And grandma be very disappointed in you today, boy. And I keep it close to me. I have it in my file. I go and I read it. You know, because I want to know why. And that he knew why he wanted to do it, and he knew what he wanted to do. And that's so refreshing to hear, because that's the kids that you definitely want to coach.
Hey, 850 Kane's got a question for you. I think it's a great one. Put you on the spot a little bit, but is it players? Is it scheme? Is it coaches? You know, who like everyone, and you were a coach, so this is a good question for you. When things go wrong, first finger gets pointed at the coaches, the head coach, the assistant coaches. It's always the coach's fault that the players aren't playing well. I get screamed at by fans on our YouTube comments and message boards and stuff. Gary, you're always so hard on the players. It's the coaches. They think I'm too hard on the players. But like, you know, yes, I get it, but you know, who do you blame, Lamar? Like, you know, can it be a combination?
Well, I can tell you this. If we were at another program where I didn't see guys putting the time in as far as the coaches, they spend a lot of time over there. I would say, oh well, it might be the coach's fault, but you know, these guys are putting in a lot of time. They're putting in a lot of. They're just not over there goofing off. I mean, this is time they're spending away from their families, and because that's what the head coach he wants that. He desires that. So it's not. I don't think it's a lot of the coach's fault. I think it might be a small portion of it by the scheme, maybe, you know, if you're man-to-man a lot. But it also, to me, it could be by situation. And when I say this, you don't have a lot of DBs, so you got to play guys. A lot of them don't have experience. So you're asking them to do things that they haven't learned yet because they're kind of thrown in the fire, and you're trying to teach them. But when you got this thing is going fast, guys. You don't even understand until the game slows down and you master it. It's going so fast. It's like really. So when the other team is saying, well, they got young guys back there, let's confuse them, they're doing a good job. I mean, that's it's hard when guys aren't used to communicating. And yeah, you can say they can try it in practice, but in that game environment, it's going so fast. So to answer his question, I would say a small portion might be the coaches. I mean, you got to have the right schemes. Obviously, teams are scheming up our man-to-man now. They're knowing that we're going man-to-man, so they're running rub routes. They're outflanking us. So they knowing if we bring two guys on slants, there's nobody going to be out there because the end's not going to. If they're running a game, the tackler is not getting outside. So there's a little bit of that, but it's also on the players. A lot of it is on the players because they're the ones that are out there. Once you cross that line, the coach can't do anything. He can yell, hey, get back, get back, get back.
See, here's an example right here from Bula Evans. Exactly what I'm talking about, LT. Stop making excuses for the failures of the coaches. Listen, I'm watching guys getting their butts whipped up there in Atlanta on Saturday. I have a hard time blaming Jason Taylor because Tyler Barron's getting his butt kicked. I'm sorry. I've watched Jason Taylor coach. He looks like a pretty damn good coach to me. Maybe he's not. I don't know. I mean, I see. Am I wrong? We work together every single day and watch this stuff. I have a hard time pointing the finger at Jason Taylor when Tyler Barron's playing like garbage. Chavez Jackson, we don't really know enough about him. He just got here. Maybe he does have shared responsibility for his guys. Let me tell you something. If his guys aren't working as hard as what Dwayne Starks says, maybe that is his fault. He's not demanding enough of them. I don't know. But I don't know. I have a hard time sometimes, it's kind of justifying that to people.
Yeah, I think kind of when I look at, because like you said, we see this stuff all the time. We see, fire Gidry, or this guy should be benched, and this and that back and forth. Me personally, from when I used to play back in the day, I think it's kind of like a 65-35, 65% on the player, 35% on the coaches. At the end of the day, you're the one that has to make that play. You're the one that has to, put your head down and make that tackle. You're the one that has to, run over that guy or make that catch. Because look, coaches can scheme it up perfectly. Like Dwayne kind of mentioned, hey, you can call the perfect play, but at the end of the day, if you meet the guy in the hole and he flatlines you and takes you to the house, coach can't put you in a better position than that. At the end of the day, that's on the player. So, and there's also situations where, a coach gets out schemed, or, a coach has, one up on the guy. So there's certain things you can't control, but at the end of the day, I think it's more on the players and the coaches. Not saying in this situation, all the Miami players are, bad and things like that. But when it generally comes down to it, in my opinion, I think it's kind of a 65-35. Because at the end of the day, coaches can call whatever they want to call. You have to make that play. You have to put those shoulder pads on. You have to, strap up that chin strap and make that play. So that's just kind of my 2 cents on that, whether it's the coaches or the players type of deal.
Bula's coming strong tonight, guys. He makes a good point here. Bula's making a good point here. Now, we talk a lot about Miami having to make adjustments to what the other teams are doing. We kind of just run our systems, quite honestly, and they need to be good enough. I mean, so that's not a bad point. But you know what? I think if your team's good enough and you're good enough at what you do, you don't have to gimmick it up. Georgia Tech, they got to gimmick it up a little bit. I mean, if they're going to play a team if they're going to play Miami, I don't know. They looked like they were every bit as good on Saturday, but I will admit that their schemes had something to do with it. Fair?
Yeah. They're getting paid money too, and so they come with something new, or they come with a game plan that you're not ready for. One of the things that I can say about our defense in previous games, they have made the adjustments, and they were able to stop. yeah, you might have got some yards the first half, but the second half they made those proper adjustments. They went in, they got it together, and that's what I'm saying. Gidget has made, teams are going to give you stuff you've never seen before because they're trying to win the game. Okay, so they're not going to run the same damn plays. They're going to run different stuff because it's going to throw you off because you spent hours preparing for this, and then all of a sudden they come with a new game plan, something that they ain't done before. It takes a while. And they've made the proper adjustments at halftime, and we've been okay with it. Yeah, we might have complained a little bit, but Guidry and that defense, they've made those proper adjustments at halftime. Now, okay, Georgia Tech, it is what it is. They ran what they ran, and they ran it to perfection, and it was just not our day. Okay, so what we need to do is work our asses off this week. The University of Miami, work your asses off. And what I saw today, they on the way to that. Okay, work your asses off, get in those books, study, get to know and see what, and come up with different scenarios. Because now everybody's going to be doing we line up here, and then we bust out, and then we motion. We line up over here. We motion over here. Everybody's going to do it to us now. So you go over every scenario that you can think of. You get those young guys ready to play. And that way, when they see it, they can have some type of mental memory on it, muscle memory, I guess that's what they call. And hopefully it works out for us because everybody's going to do it from this point on. And we all know that if we get to that ACC championship, which I think we will, and I know we will, Brett Lassie is going to pull out every freaking stop. Every freaking stop because he made TVD look like a man. Like he made this guy, and he was telling him where to throw the ball. So that's this little cat bit that y'all might not have known. He made him look like the man because he was telling me exactly where to throw the ball.
Yeah,
that means he's pretty damn smart.
I want to touch real quick on the decisions that coaches have to make during games. Mario makes no secret. He is an aggressive coach. He believes in going for it on fourth down. He's looked at the analytics. They tell him, go for it on fourth down, go for it on fourth down. I watch constant football, just not just Miami Hurricanes, constant football. I see coaches getting burned like crazy over bacon fourth down. It happened to Mario at Georgia Tech. Went for the first down on 4th and 3 in the second quarter. Didn't get it. They were chasing it the whole game. They had 4th and 18 in the fourth quarter. Went for it. That's 2 field goals they could have kicked, and then went for a 2-point conversion when they could have kicked an extra point. That's 7 points left on the field in a 5-point game. LT, your thoughts on the slippery slope that coaches live on in these in-game decisions that shape the games more than you realize?
Well, I mean, you hit it on the head in the beginning. You say he's an aggressive coach. So, you got to expect that that's what he's going to do. And especially, in a game like this where, and it's just my opinion, guys, after last year, he wanted to try to make sure that, we were going to be up. He wanted to be up on these guys, and he wanted to beat them up. Unfortunately, those decisions came back and we failed. We didn't, but it put us behind the 8 ball. And I don't know how different the game would have been, but it would have put a lot more pressure on Georgia Tech if we would have got some of those fourth downs. So, I mean, hey, I play a lot of college football, 25, and I'm aggressive just like that. And it comes back, and after the game, I'm so damn mad. I screwed myself by going for it, and all I had to do was kick the damn field goal. So I don't know. I mean, that's just the way it is, man. I mean, I'm sure Mario probably got home and laid in the bed for his 1 hour of sleep and probably thought that probably should have kicked the field goal. But that's he's aggressive like that. So I mean, we hired an aggressive coach, and that's what he's going to do. And it's worked before, and Obviously, it just didn't work on Saturday. So we praised him before, and we've also been pissed off with him, but that comes with the territory, because if we go ahead and win and get to the ACC championship and win that, hey, you still gonna be pissed off with him about the Georgia Tech game? I doubt it. So it is what it is.
All right, I see. Before we let you go, parting thoughts. What would you like to see the Canes get out of this open week?
Clear mindset, just restart. I know they always say that 1-0 mentality, but now I feel like this is when they actually have to put that in place. Obviously, it's easy to say that when you're running through your schedule, you're killing everybody, you're on the top of the world, but now you're facing adversity. The adversity, I remember during the beginning of the year, we always talked about, man, I want to see these teams or this team actually face some adversity. Well, hey, it's here now.
Yeah.
It's here.
Every game you play is a Super Bowl. Now it's not just a one-sided Super Bowl. Every game is your Super Bowl. So from here on out, if you win, you know what's ahead of you. So just have that clarity, have that understanding. Hey, every game probably it may be our last or is our last. So just want to see these guys, have that mindset and come back healthy. Everybody that's banged up, get those guys cleaned up. Damari Brown, if you're watching this, please come back to that secondary. All jokes aside, they just want to see these guys come out and hand it to a Wake Forest team that has an atrocious defense, and I think that'll be a very high-scoring game. But those are just my 2 cents. We'll save that for next week.
All right, I see. Well, we'll see how it goes. Lamar will be out there checking it out again next week, I'm sure, and we'll be back next Wednesday night. Talk a little bit more about all this as Miami gets ready for Wake Forest. So enjoy the rest of your week. Thanks for being part of the show.
Thank you, fellas.
Thanks, IC. Have enjoyed your off week.
Yes, sir.
So we got to give Jennifer Miller some love real quick.
Yes.
First of all, she says that Mario should have played more conservative and taken the field goals.
Yeah.
However, she points out hindsight is 2020.
Yes, it is.
So,
yes, it is.
Yeah.
And that's all part of being a head coach, man. You make decisions, and sometimes it's not the popular decision, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And we could sit here and say that what we would have done. Well, we're not in those shoes. We're not. We don't have the stress of. I don't know if it's really stress making $10 million or $8 million. I mean, I don't know if it's too much stress, but it is to an extent, because now you have the whole world looking at you and saying,
you got to justify the dollars, man.
Yeah, you got to justify the dollars. So I guess it is stress in a way, but it is a decision sometimes that sometimes just doesn't go your way, and that was just a bad day for him. It was 3 4th downs that we didn't get. Those field goals that we could have had, that going for 2 points. I mean, nothing really worked out for him.
Nothing worked.
And you don't really have those days where nothing really works. Sometimes half of it works.
Yeah.
Maybe you might miss one of them, but when you have all 3 of them not work, and you still had a chance. And you still had a chance.
Still had a chance.
This team is not a bad team. We're 9-1. We're not a bad team. We still had a chance through all that. The defense made a stop when it had to make a stop. Put the ball in Superman's hands. How many times did Superman bailed us out? He just couldn't get it done.
Went to the well one time too often.
Yeah. Yep. Just couldn't get it done.
And was a little loose. Maybe took for granted what he'd already done.
Yep. Well, maybe he really thought. I mean, he really thought he was Superman. You just never know. It just didn't work out that day. Now, what we're hoping is that through this week, like I said before, they are preparing. They're getting healthy. They're putting guys in situations that they can imagine to give these guys this. I've always thought as a coach, you get to visualize your assignments and adjustments. Whether it's you laying down sleeping or you see it at practice, you visualizing all your assignments and adjustments. So here it is. You get an opportunity during the off week that couldn't come at a better time. So that's my 2 cents.
All right, LT, let's do a little word association here to take it home. What comes to your mind if I say ACC?
You know, I coached in the SEC and I coached in the ACC. I always thought of the SEC as a grind every week, but the ACC has come a long way.
Yes,
and it's its own grind every week.
100.
I don't. It's not where they're the sisters of the poor, the Georgia Techs or the Dukes. These are teams that can get you at any day because they have good players now. The Boston College. You tell me that quarterback who just got benched. He's a baller. He single-handedly won some games. Was it Costastina? I don't even know.
Castellano. They benched him.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not.
Wow.
I think I might have saw that. But what I'm saying is these teams aren't sorry no more. They're good teams that you play out that conference. You find out that the ACC ain't messing around. You put anybody up against Pitt. You put anybody up against Clemson. Put anybody up against SMU. They're finding out these SEC teams. I mean, you look at. I don't know what the record is. When we play, but I would say that we held our own this year if we played in the SEC teams because our teams are. We're just like our teams are on the come up, just like Vanderbilt came up this year in the ACC. That's what I believe.
I'm looking at the ACC standings. You got SMU 8-1, Clemson 7-2, Miami 9-1, Louisville 6-3, Pitt 7-2, Georgia Tech 6-4, Duke 7-3, Syracuse 6-3, Virginia 5-4, which just pulled the upset of Pitt. Virginia Tech, which we know is a team better than their record, 5-5. North Carolina 5-4, Boston College 5-4. The Wake Forest team that's coming in is 4-5. NC State's 5-5. Cal's 5-4. We know they're better than their record. It's not a bad conference, man. Everybody kind of takes turns beating everybody, and you better show up every week, as Georgia Tech taught us last week. All right, let's go to Cam Ward, Lamar.
He is an outstanding talent. I think I said it earlier in the show. This is the first time I really talked to him because I've looked at him as a pitcher throwing a no-hitter. And I played baseball, and if you're anything about baseball, you don't talk to a pitcher throwing a no-hitter. So I have not said too many words to him this whole year, but I got a chance to talk to him today, and I just said, hey, man, you got to continue to do what you do, take that thing down a couple times, I kind of said it on the sly, but he needs to know that. I mean, I'm sure if he has any aspirations of being that guy, and I'm saying going to the next level,
he better learn to check it down.
You better learn it. And I think through anybody that's close to him, they probably told him, hey, man. And I'm pretty sure that seeing the guy, he has to be hard on himself too. So I'm pretty
100.
sure he looked at it and said, damn, So this is not some words from nowhere. It just,
Shannon's
I'm sure he knows
telling him the same thing.
Yeah,
and
I'm sure Shannon, because again, they have that relationship. From what I've seen, that they actually talk to each other, and they actually, he enjoys being coached, and he gives back knowledge back to Shannon. So it's a good marriage so far.
All right, open week.
Time to get better. Time to get healthy. Time to give some guys some experience. Put them in different scenarios where that could help us down the road. Study some more film, teaching guys how to really study, to sit back and know what they're looking at. And also, it's an opportunity for players to really look in the mirror and talk to other players and say, hey, man, we got to tighten up. Just again, from just being around those guys, they seem like, just watching them today that, hey, they're all in. and you know they got to be better than they were on Saturday. So, you know, they understand that.
All right, let's take it home with Mario Cristobal.
Well, Mario, man, he was, you know, he was. It's off week, so he's from the Jimmy Johnson era, and he's coached with that other guy at Alabama. You know, the great coach Saban. So I'm pretty sure that during that off week, a lot of things happened, and couldn't have come at a better time. You know, you would have loved to have gone in this thing with a win, but if you go into it with a win, those kids are kind of questioning, why were you so hard on us? We're undefeated. Now there's an opportunity to say, hey, you saw what we did last week? That cannot happen again. So you can be just as hard on them as you want to be, because they understand now from the last week that you can't go out there and lay an egg. And that's on not just the players, but it's also on the coaches too. And I think that, you know, one of the great things about him is that I think he understands that everybody made mistakes, and he's harping on everybody, including himself. So that's also a great thing when you know the head coach can say, yeah, I made some mistakes myself. So, and most coaches won't admit it, but you know that's a good thing. It's a good thing for the kids to hear.
It's funny. I was watching the Miami Heat last night, and they went into overtime. And Eric Spoelstra, who people think might be the best coach in the NBA, called the timeout that he didn't have, and he cost them the game. You know, if it was a tie game, it would have been going into a double overtime with like a half a second on the clock. He had tried to call a timeout that he didn't have. Technical foul. The Heat loses, and the team had played an unbelievable game. I mean, the effort that they had exerted was amazing. You know, Tyler Hero's raining in from everywhere. The best coach in the NBA that many people universally proclaim the best coach in the NBA made a mistake. Doesn't always go right, even for the guys that he's a veteran, and it you know, just doesn't always go right. All right, LT, well, great show. We got to thank Dwayne Starks. We got to thank IC. We got to thank Las Spadas, the sub shop next door to CaneSwear, who we have to especially thank for feeding Lamar. 2655 South University Drive in Davie, CaneSwear.com. Michael Irvin shirt right there, the hottest shirt in the country. They only have a limited supply of them now, so if you want it,
hurry up
and get it, because they won't have them forever.
Shop online if you have to.
Open week this week, so we won't have a game to talk about next week, Lamar, but we'll have to come up with something.
Yeah.
Maybe
we'll see if we get Cilio back on that deal.
Yeah, see if we get Cilio back. Maybe Mike will come back. I don't know. We'll see. We'll figure it out. We'll put something together for you guys for next Wednesday night. So until then, thanks for joining us this evening, and we'll see you next time.
Go Canes.